WJTV sports anchor David Edelstein joins us now, and college football Saturday's pregame show is rolling, man. We're glad you're here. Ole Miss is off to a 3-0 start. Offensively, they've been rolling as well, while the defense under Pete Golding is still trying to work things out. Let me ask you this. What do Ole Miss fans think about the team so far this season?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. This is an interesting matchup because Ole Miss playing Alabama, always huge. I think Ole Miss fans are liking what they see so far. You know, week by week, this team is trying to prove itself a little bit because of the way that it ended last season. It was a highly touted team last year. You have Quinshon Judkins as a running back in his freshman year last year, who wins the award for best college football player in Mississippi last year. He does return in 2023. But what happened at the end of 2022 is the team winds up losing its last 4 games of the season, and that just kind of put a damper on how everything ultimately felt. So not only with a lot of roster changes and a lot of new guys coming to this Rebels team that needed to prove themselves, and finally maybe having a quarterback return into this year, that with Jackson Dart coming back into his second season at the helm of this offense and trying to command these different players and show what he's made of, I think that with these 3 wins, especially the one in New Orleans against Tulane the other day, which was a highly anticipated matchup, they proved themselves week by week, and I think the fans are liking that. I think they're liking to see returning players who stood out last year in Dart and Judkins. And while there's still plenty of room for improvement, and especially in a tough task against Alabama this weekend, I think that Ole Miss fans are liking what they're seeing. How could you be upset with 3-0, including a top 25 win already this season?
Absolutely. You know, one thing about Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin, these two have had quite the relationship over the years. But, you know, Nick Saban has been dominating over Kiffin. Kiffin is 0-3 at Ole Miss against his former boss. Is there pressure for Lane Kiffin to beat Alabama, or Nick Saban for that matter?
I think there's always pressure, and in this, you don't play football so that there's not pressure, right? These guys are not getting much sleep during the football season because they're ready to play. And I mean, I don't need to tell you or your viewers the prestige of the Alabama program that they have with the Tide, that this is a team that anyone who goes up against them is treating this like it's the Super Bowl, not even just a college bowl game, but this is the big game, because no matter how Alabama's doing, good, bad, you know, you go into deep analysis, it's Alabama, and we know who they've been. When you add in that component that Lane Kiffin used to work with Nick Saban and was on the Alabama staff, that just adds the whole new level. I think there's always that pressure. We see that here in Mississippi when Ole Miss and Mississippi State play each other in the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving every year. That's a huge game, not only because it's a rivalry, but because this is a game where each team feels that pressure that no matter how the rest of the season goes, you got to win the Egg Bowl. You could lose every other game, but if you win the Egg Bowl, people will at least be happy, you know, in some regard. So, you know, when you're going up against Alabama from the Ole Miss perspective, you want to win, because if you can get that and you can play a tough game against them and maybe come away with a W, then you've come away with a lot already. Then Lane Kiffin wanting to be like Saban, he talks highly of him in his press conferences all the time, whether they're near the Alabama week that they're playing against them or not. He always has some kind of reference to Saban. So it's like two brothers, you know, finally getting their own command and seeing how they match up against each other and trying to outdo each other along the way. So yes, there should be that pressure, because that's where the Ole Miss drive to win comes from.
Well, David, let me ask you one more question about success for these guys at Ole Miss. What is the key factor for Ole Miss to walk out of Tuscaloosa with a win over the Tide?
I think this team needs to be able to run the ball, because we have Quinshon Judkins on the Rebels. And I know that some people might say, what do you mean run the ball? We've actually, believe it or not, seen more of a struggle with Judkins getting those yards. When he came out of the Tulane game and then into the Georgia Tech game, that's what Kiffin was talking about. He wants that run game working, and if you wind up getting Jackson Dart to be able to throw the ball a little bit, because the run game opens up the ground game, and so now they're trying to just stuff him at the line, there's more room to go there. So as long as the run game can be successful against Alabama, I think that opens up a lot more for this Ole Miss offense that they just haven't had clicking on all cylinders yet.
Well, it's going to get clicking this weekend. David, thank you so much for joining us, and we're always pleased to talk college football with you. And like you mentioned, it's going to be an all Alabama and Mississippi/Mississippi State kind of couple of weeks for us, so we look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Looking forward to that.
Well, still to come on the College Football Saturday pregame show, a live look at Bryant-Denny Stadium on this beautiful Friday evening. And when we come back, I'll give you my keys to the game for this Ole Miss